are listening to the A.L.I podcast, Season 1. Season 1, Episode 4. A.L.I 524, Arbaeen, a civilizational perspective towards a God-centered global society.
ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah, before I begin, pray all of you are keeping well and you all can hear me well, inshallah, and you can also see the slides properly as well. If you're having issues, please kindly indicate that on the chat screen or through your voice as well, inshallah. Allah, no issues at all. All right. Ahsantum. Inshallah, we'll get started. As part of our discussion today, we would like to explore the event of Arbaeen. And when we talk about the Arbaeen, we're here not only talking about the day of Arbaeen that has been mentioned as a very important day as part of the Islamic and specifically the Shia calendar, which is the 20th of Safar, the 40th day after the day of Ashura. But technically we're here wanting to go beyond the Arbaeen day specifically and the commemorations we might have in our local communities. Rather, we would like to look at Arbaeen as a whole, Arbaeen as a movement, Arbaeen as the largest gathering of people in the world. And obviously there might be discussions on whether it is the largest gathering or one of the largest gatherings. Is besides the point. For us, simply being connected to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is worthy of not only discussion but worthy of greatness, right? And inshallah ta'ala, I'm hoping for us to be able to enhance our discussion and deepen our understanding. I'm trying to see how many of us have already been for the Ziyarat al-Arbaeen or how many of us are planning to. If you have been already, please indicate that on the screen, or if not, please mention that as well. Mm-hmm. Inshallah. I'm sure Arbaeen and the whole commemoration of the 40th, the Chehilum or the Chalismo or whatever we call it in our own languages, has changed over time for us personally. So I personally remember, and I would like you to share your thoughts as well on your sense of Arbaeen first. Personally, when I was a child, I remember the 40th day would be um, obviously as part of the commemorations that we would have. Um, Typically 2 months and 8 days we would have majlis every day, and we would take part in majlis. And the 40th was a special day because we would not have majlis in the evenings, but also during the day as well. And I remember as a child very clearly that just like Ashura, Arbaeen or Chalwismo or Chehlum would be another special day for majlis. And as that grew, I would remember that yes, it was a sad day similar to Ashura, but never had felt or thought that this would be such a great event. And the first time I participated in the Arbaeen walk was almost 8 years ago. And I must say that not only the impact of being part of the ziyarah of Abdullah al-Hussein was immense, but the whole spiritual energy and the emotional the impact that was on me as part of not only the walk towards Karbala from Najaf, but it was like I could not describe, and I still cannot describe that feeling. It's simply out of this world. When you actually see that beauty and the amount of sacrifice and selflessness and love that people show one another, not only the people who are serving, who are part of the mokibs, who are part of the walk, who are the hosts, the Iraqis in general, but then you have mokibs from other communities and countries as well. But just the whole energy that people there, they love each other simply because they love Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And we all see each other as part of the walk and the move towards Karbala at one level, towards the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein, but there's a deeper meaning, there's a deeper energy, there's a deeper purpose than simply the ziyarat and simply reaching the Zarih or the Haram of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And that is something we would like to explore today, inshallah. Now I would like you all, either through your voice or through your text, inshallah, please share what do you hope to get out of this discussion today. What are you coming in with, and what are your thoughts about what we will discuss today? And then inshallah we'll start. The discussion itself constitutes three slides of some elaboration, and then we'll have one last slide whereby we have actually almost, I'm hoping, half an hour worth of discussion time, where we're simply discussing how to practically implement some of the things that we discussed in the first 3 slides, inshallah. So please go ahead and share what are your feelings about Arbaeen, as well as what do you hope to get out of this discussion today. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Inshallah, some of the pictures on there can also help us generate some discussion if you'd like to reflect on, if you're not being part of the Arbaeen itself, but what do the pictures tell you? Mm-hmm. Okay. Indeed, in terms of it being the Hajj of the Shias. Indeed, it is one of the largest gatherings where you see the followers of the Ahl-Bayt come together, and much more so with a lot more freedom to express their devotion to the Ahl-Bayt than the actual Hajj itself, unfortunately. Where the actual Hajj itself is incomplete without the Imam of the time, without not only the presence of the Imam, but also that attention towards the Imam. The culmination of the Hajj is, and the perfection of the Hajj is the spiritual union with the Imam of the time. So inshallah, I think that's something that we can take away, that Arbaeen is sort of the Hajj of the Shias, yes. Obviously, we don't want to present it such because it could be taken in a negative way, that now the Shias have started looking at Arbaeen as the Hajj. Sometimes it can be taken out of context, but alhamdulillah, I think we all understand what is meant here. With regards to learning about the why and the significance of ziyarah, inshallah, we'll talk about that very briefly. And I'm sure there are other courses that do talk about this in a bit more detail, but we'll point to that, inshallah, to the idea of the sawab and the reward of the ziyarah as well. Inshallah, we will talk about preparation to some extent, but we're trying to look at it from an overall perspective. So what is Arbaeen, and what is its place as a civilizational perspective? And when I say civilizational, it's important I clarify this, because when we look at humans and human societies, we sometimes become very individualized or very personal, and that's unfortunately part of our individualistic societies and how we end up looking at the human being. Yes, the human being at the personal level is worthwhile studying, as well as at different perspectives as well. But what makes a human is not only the ability to fulfill his personal material needs, but also go beyond himself and be part of the society, be part of a whole. And this is where humanity differs from other species. Obviously, some say the human is a social animal, all right? That's one of the very, I would say, basic and inadequate definitions of a human being. But in reality, we're looking at the human being at different layers. One is at the personal layer, one is higher as a family, at the family level, one step higher at the community and societal level. One step higher, we look at the human being at the global level. And even beyond that, we look at the human being and at the whole spiritual level. And that's one of the highest levels. And what we see in Arbaeen is all of them together. You find the human being being touched at all levels, not only as a person, but as a family, as a society. We are being touched, and there's this energy in Arbaeen that has the capacity to move our hearts, our souls, our communities, our societies, and it has the potential to move the whole globe, to move all of humanity towards a higher degree of perfection. Inshallah, we'll talk more about that in a bit more detail. Right. I think I've sort of answered some of the thoughts or commented on some of the ideas that have been shared. I was hoping that the slides would go PowerPoint-wise, but it seems like they will end up showing all of the text altogether, so please don't get overwhelmed. I have a lot of text on each slide, but I was hoping to present it bit by bit. But inshallah, we'll get started. And Here we go. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So the Arbaeen itself. Arbaeen literally means the 40th, or the number 40 is Arbaeen. In our non-Arab lingo, we've stuck to the word Arbaeen, but the commemoration of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, which actually is the 40th day after his martyrdom, the 40th post-martyrdom day, is called the Arbaeen, and the whole event of Arbaeen is called the Ziyarat al-Arbaeeniyya in Iraq and in other Arab countries. And the whole recitation that's recited, the ziyarat that's recited on the day of Arbaeen is called Ziyarat al-Arbaeen. But keeping in mind now, Arbaeen literally is the same as Jahlum or Chalismo or similar in meaning whatever language we might be looking at. But here in English we would term it the 40th or the event of the 40th. All right. Now, a few important points that we need to touch on. And one of the very first points that we find interesting about the Arbaeen, about the 40th day commemoration of the martyrdom of anyone, is that it's one of the very specific qualities of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. In terms of the point that the Ahl al-Bayt have stressed the commemoration of the 40th of none other than Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So you don't find the 40th celebration, a commemoration, of Rasulullah or Amir al-Mu'mineen or Sayyidah Fatima or Imam al-Hassan. Keep going all the way to Imam al-Askari. We don't have, besides their day of Shahadat that we commemorate, we don't have a commemoration. Neither is part of our calendars, and going back, neither is part of the seerah and the lifestyle of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhimus salam, that they would commemorate and recommend the followers of the Ahl al-Bayt to commemorate the 40th day after the martyrdom of any other Ma'soom except for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And this is something very specific to Imam al-Hussein, and that starts to tell us that yes, there is something beyond just the martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein. Here, Imam al-Hussein's martyrdom and 40 days after is now serving to be an energizing tool of not only our personal commitment and spiritual awakening, but also as a tool, and we'll talk about that towards the end, of awakening the Ummah and the world for a greater reality, inshallah. One other thing that we need to mention here is as well that there is no other ziyarat called Ziyarat al-Arbaeen except for Imam al-Hussein. So you don't find Ziyarat al-Arbaeen for any of the other Imams, other ziyarat that can be recited. So again, and we'll pay attention to the text or a part of the text of the Ziyarat of Arbaeen as well, and look at what is being mentioned there and how we can relate to it as well, inshallah. Moving forward, when we look at the day of Arbaeen or the 40th day or the 20th of Safar, basically, there are some historical events that have been narrated. And obviously there is some difference of opinion as to which ones came first or who ended up reaching Karbala on the day of Arbaeen first. But besides all those differences, some things that have been mentioned are that the Ahl al-Bayt, the ladies and the children of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam, Imam al-Sajjad, Lady Zainab, and the rest of the caravan, they were released from prison and returned to Karbala on the day of Arbaeen. And that's one based on the theory that the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam, basically one perspective is that they went and came back within the 40 days. So they left on the 11th of Muharram and they stayed in Kufa for a maximum of a day or two, and they were sent off to Sham and towards Damascus, and they ended up reaching Damascus on the 1st of Safar, and they ended up being there for no more than a couple days. so much so that Yazid's rule was threatened as a result of the presence and obviously the khutbahs of Imam Sajjad and Lady Zainab Salamullahi alayha in the court of Yazid and in the masjid of the Masjid al-Umayyah in Damascus. And in that perspective, believes that yes, Lady Ruqayya during that time, that few days itself, passed away and was martyred in the prison of Sham, and they were released soon after, so much so that they were able to reach back in time on the 20th of Safar in the same year. So that's one perspective. The other perspective is they spent, and this is less supported, but again, it has some issues as well. But I won't go into the historical analysis right now. I'm simply narrating some of the perspectives here. That the Ahl Bayt were away for a year, and then the following year they reached Karbala on the day of Arbaeen. Another perspective is that, and this is also debated by the historians, they say that they actually never reached Arbaeen. They never reached Karbala. Some say that they went straight from Damascus back towards Medina. That's another perspective, and it has some support as well. But one of the things that we are sure of is that Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, the great companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and one of the famous ones for the Shia, because of the chain of narrations going to Hadith al-Kisa. Hadith al-Kisa comes to us through Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari. And this companion of Rasulullah, as well as the one who is met with 5 Imams, basically has had contact with 7 of the Ma'sumin. Basically half of the Ma'sumin, they've had contact with Jabir. So the 5 of the Panjatan, as well as Imam Sajjad, and living all the way to the time of Imam al-Baqir. So this is a very special person indeed. When he hears about the martyrdom and shahadat of Imam al-Hussein in Karbala, he immediately sets forth towards Karbala from Medina. And what happens is that he is on his way and he reaches Arbaeen, the 20th of Safar. He reaches Karbala. And there's a whole detail into what does he do when he reaches. He takes a ghusl in the Furat and he prepares himself and he goes towards the qabr of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and recites some very beautiful words. And one of the very beautiful parts of the history of Arbaeen goes back to Jabir's visitation and ziyarah on the day of Arbaeen. And therefore, they, according to another historical context, they end up meeting. He ends up meeting, he and his companion Atiyah, they end up meeting with Imam Sajjad and the caravan. Ala kulli hal, in any case, we would like to move forward, and obviously there is a traditional view of Arbaeen as well, which I mentioned earlier, that we would only look at the Arbaeen as another day of commemoration. And I'm sure you all have had this experience as well, that Arbaeen was just another day of commemoration, except for that you had an extra majlis, or you remembered the Ahl Bayt alayhim salam, and sort of it was, for many cultures, it was now an indication that yes, the days of mourning are coming to an end, and basically you have to bid farewell. And I say that in quotations, bid farewell to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and sort of the black would slowly start to come off, obviously, within the different Shia cultures. You have different times that you eventually remove the black clothing and the black, basically, the coverings in the Husseyniyas and the Imam Barakas and so on. For some it would be the end of Safar, for some it would be the Arbaeen itself, for some it would be till the 8th of Rabiul Awwal. But in any case, Arbaeen had that perspective of being simply another day of mourning. But we're now seeing that the Arbaeen is no longer simply that. It is, and for those who can't make it for ziyarah, it will still be, but it will also have that connection that now I wish I was there. I wish I was in Arbaeen. I wish I was in Karbala for Arbaeen. And that brings us to the next part of our discussion with regards to Arbaeen. And one of the very important hadith, rather that one hadith that stirs our hearts and moves us towards Ziyarat al-Arbaeen is this single hadith from Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam, the 11th Imam, where he says that alamatul mu'min khams, there are 5 signs of a mu'min. And very interestingly, obviously the context of the hadith is not that if a mu'min had these things, he would be called a mu'min. No, if a mu'min was sincerely a mu'min, then these 5 things would not be ignored or cast aside. Rather, they would be an important part of this mu'min's life. And one of those 5 is Ziyarat al-Arbaeen, as the hadith says. So I'm hoping you all know the rest of the hadith, but I'll just go over it quickly as well. Salatu 51 rakat salat, which means that the mu'min would pray not only his 17 rakat of wajib salat, the 5 times a day, but also the mu'min would focus on his nawafil, the extra supererogatory prayers as well. They would be part of the daily schedule of a mu'min, and a mu'min would be simply part of in the state of constant dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through these extra prayers. And obviously we know the ahkam that it doesn't always have to be in a musalla. You can walk and pray as long as you're in a state of wudu and you're through ishara and through a sign you're praying these extra prayers, and these actually include Salat al-Layl as well. So for nawafil prayers, there's no expectation of, it's not wajib for you to be facing the qibla. So you can be walking and your back may be towards the qibla or your side may be towards the qibla, but you can be praying your nawafil as you walk, as you drive, as you ride the bus or the train or whatever public transit you have. You could be even sitting on your chair, and if it does not interrupt and take you away from your wajib work that you have, that commitment that you have. Obviously, we need to make sure our commitments are met, as well as our income becomes halal, because otherwise we don't want our salat becoming, our nawafil salat becoming an impediment in our halal income. But in any case, one of the signs of a mu'min is they focus on extra prayers, and they're in a state of salat for most of the time. Another sign is that the khattum bil yamin, they wear a ring in their right hand, and usually this ring is an aqiq or a firuza or so basically all these special stones that have been mentioned to us by the Aimma alayhimus salam, and there's a significance to them as well, which is connected to the wilaya of Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam, as mentioned in some of the ahadith as well. Another sign, obviously on the same sign, the reason the right hand is highlighted is because our other brothers and sisters from Ahl Sunnah, they wear their rings in their left hand as a reason of differentiating between us and them. And there are some things that have come up because of this, that some things that we in the Shia as mu'mineen have stuck to as part of our practice, that some of the scholars in the past of the Ahl Sunnah, they purposely changed the Sharia, or they encouraged their followers to act such that they would not look like the Shia. And one of them is the wearing of the ring. The other one is also raising the grave So for us, the raising of the grave slightly above the ground to a height of 4 finger lengths or maybe around that level, just to mark the grave as a place where to indicate that there is somebody buried here is there. But then in the Ahl Sunnah, it's not like that. It's slightly different. Now, the sign, one of them being extra prayers, the nawafil, wearing the ring in the right hand. Another one is the jahra bi Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, reciting the Bismillah in Salat loudly. And again, it comes back to reciting the Salat on time with its attention and making sure you recite the Bismillah before the surah loudly. Obviously, I've asked to the office of the Maraj, and obviously for brothers, yes. For sisters as well, as long as the non-mahram is not nearby, and obviously raising the voice here is not wajib. All right, for Zohar and Asr, it's not wajib to begin with. Obviously, it's very highly recommended. It's a mustahab. But for Maghrib, Isha, and Fajr, for the brothers, yes, it's wajib that you need to recite it loudly. Moving forward, another sign is, so we've had Ziyarat al-Arbaeen as one. We've had Nawafil prayers. We've had wearing the ring in the right hand. We've had saying Bismillah loudly. And the last one is, and this is also now connected to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, is ta'fir bil-jabin, ta'fir al-jabin, and putting your forehead in salat during sujood on dust, right? And basically not only the forehead but the whole face. And ta'fir refers to basically humbling ourselves on the dust before the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the gist of it. One of the du'as that I've recited as well in the A'mal of 15th of Sha'ban has this part where you say, Affartu wajhi fi turab, fahukka li an asjuda lak. I have placed my face and I move my face, or I humble my face on the turab, on the dust. Because it is befitting for me to prostrate before you, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, that's another sign of the moment. And keeping in mind, all of these go back to the wilayat of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Wearing of the ring in the right hand, reciting Bismillah loudly was the sunnah of Amir al-Mu'mineen that the Banu Umayyah wanted to curtail, and that's why you find that one of the innovations or bid'ah that Banu Umayyah originated was taking away the loud Bismillah in Salat. Just because this was a practice of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, that he would specifically recite Bismillah loudly in Salat, it was removed by the Banu Umayyah because of the bughd and the enmity that they had of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Yes, coming back to the question from the sister, yes, it was a differentiation, and it's better, obviously, for the mu'min, unless now you are in a state where you are fearful of a threat to your life or to your respect and honor, that you don't have to. Obviously, it's mustahab to wear it in your right hand. In some places, some airports, some places where you might be praying, it might be safe to wear your rings in your right hand and wouldn't have an issue. But in some places, especially in the holy sites of Mecca and Medina and during Hajj, it might be even a necessity at times, given the conditions that you might be in, to not wear it in your right hand, either to not wear it at all or to wear it in your left hand. But ala kulli hal, that's the part of taqiyya, and protecting yourself from harm, obviously, as long as your religion is safe. But if the religion is under threat, then there is no taqiyya to begin with. Moving forward now, so one of the signs of the believer is Ziyarat al-Arbaeen. and the ziyarah of Arbaeen. Now, going back to this, the ziyarah is one of the signs of a believer, but it's very interesting that this was not mentioned, this hadith was not mentioned during the times of the earlier imams. Who is now narrating the hadith, or from whom is the hadith being narrated? None other than the father of our holy imam, the imam of our time, the 11th holy imam, Imam Abu Muhammad al-Hasan ibn Ali al-Askari alayhi salam. So interestingly enough now, if we had this hadith in the words of the other A'immah, for example, from Imam al-Sajjad onwards, we don't have this hadith. From Imam al-Baqir, Imam al-Sadiq, we don't have this hadith. From Imam al-Kazim, Imam al-Rida, Imam al-Jawad, Imam al-Hadi, we don't have any of this type of hadith where Ziyarat al-Arbaeen is mentioned as a sign of a believer. So it now raises the question that why, out of all of the Imams, that Imam al-Askari mentioned Ziyarat al-Arbaeen to be a sign of a believer, right? And yes, the text of the Ziyarat al-Arbaeen was taught to us by Imam al-Sadiq through one of his companions. All right? So that tells us that yes, there was a concept of Ziyarat on the day of Arbaeen of Imam al-Hussein from the time of Imam al-Sadiq for sure. It would have been, or it could have been earlier on as well. But keeping in mind Imam al-Sajjad and Imam al-Baqir themselves were part of the event of Karbala. They were present. And to keep that alive after the Arbaeen was now highlighted by Imam al-Sadiq to his companions, to the Shia, to the close ones. But now, to the time of Imam al-Askari, and during this time between Imam al-Sadiq to Imam al-Askari, more and more pressure was coming on the Shia to forget Imam al-Hussein. So much so that they were being kept away from the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein during the time of Mutawakkil. And Mutawakkil, may Allah remove His mercy from him, was somebody who even destroyed the haram of Abu Abdullah, cultivated over the grave of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, and he prohibited anybody from going to the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein. So much so that at this point the A'immah encourage their followers to that extent that go, even if it is to a great detriment to your money, to your lives even. And the Shia would go for the ziyarah of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And this was very important, that the continuation of the movement of Abu Abdullah and his remembrance and his ziyarah and his mourning and commemoration ceremonies would keep on going. And this was one of the greatest goals of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, starting from Imam al-Sajjad himself. Right? So now we find that Arbaeen as a ziyarah was there as part of the Shia culture, but making it such that it is now at par with other signs of a moment, like very apparent signs of a moment, wearing the ring, or being so much in ibadah, reciting and praying nawafil, and putting their faith on dust and being humble before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the greatest extent possible, and reciting Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim loudly. One of them now ends up being Ziyarat al-Arbaeen. And interestingly enough now, as one of the greatest goals and purposes and strategies of Imam al-Hasan al-Askari was to prepare the Shia for now a period that they will not have access to the Imam of their time. So it's very crucial. Imam al-Askari had a very difficult task, and obviously this process of preparation and preparing the Shia for occultation, for the Ghaiba, for a period that they will not have direct access for a period of time that they don't know. The Shias will not have access to the Imam. They don't know till when. Till Allah has willed that the final Hujjah will reappear, the Shias will not have direct access to the Imam for the protection of the Imam and as a test to the Shia as well. Now, Imam al-Askari is preparing the Shia to enter this phase. And one of the primary now signs of a believer, and this is very interesting again, it's not a sign that's at the personal level. You can do all of the other signs at the personal level in your privacy of your homes and nobody will know that you're a believer. But now this ziyarah, that you're now stepping out of your homes to actually go towards Karbala for the 40th, is now a clear sign that you are a mu'min. And now it's not only a personal, private sign, it's a social, open sign. And now imagine now you being one person, you as a family going for ziyarah, it's a social activity, it's a family activity. You going as a community, as a larger extended family, yes. But now it's like drops of the ocean, drops of the rivers or streams, or even just drops coming together and forming streams and shi'as, each one of them individually at their personal levels, feeling that urge to now go for ziyarah. It's now leading to a commemoration where it's like streams and rivulets coming together and merging into a river going towards Karbala for the day of Arbaeen, for the ziyarah of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam. Now, as a context now, going back, why is it a social political activity? I must mention as well that this activity is a clear sign that, yes, on one hand, the message of Abu Abdullah did not die with him and did not get pushed aside with his martyrdom. Number one, he's still alive, and his soul and his blood lives on in the hearts and veins of his followers. All right. And this is, again, something very important. We recite this as part of the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein on the 15th of Sha'ban. And we say this, that Ashhadu annaka lam tamut. I bear witness that you and your message has not died. But rather, through your inspiration, your message and you live on in the lives and hearts of your Shia. And that's a very powerful message. It's a powerful statement there. That we're seeing that not only Imam al-Hussein himself, but the whole concept of imamah that was supposed to have been cast aside by Saqifa and the movement after the Holy Prophet to push aside the Ahlul Bayt into a corner and to isolate them completely from society, rather from their true right and their true responsibility of leading humanity towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that was disrupted. And the Imam would remain the Imam, no doubt about it. But the Imam would not be able to fulfill his full responsibility of Imamat and leadership till the time that the rulership and the governance of the Imam would not encompass all of humanity and all of the world, basically, at least starting with the Muslims. So here is where we find that the ziyarah of Arbaeen becomes a social-political activity, so much so that the enemies and the evil dictators of the time, they had banned, Saddam Hussein during his time had banned the Arbaeen walk. And we know, even today, we just had last few days ago, the Arbaeen walk starts from Basra. And from Basra, which is in the southernmost corner of Iraq, people start walking, and they walk for 18 to 19 days to get to Karbala. And that's the furthest away within Iraq that people walk. I'm sure people have started walking from other parts of Iraq as well, farther, closer. Some start walking from Iran as well. And that's symbolic. That shows us that not only the Arbaeen is an important ziyarah, but even walking to get to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein is important. And that emphasis is there in the ahadith as well. You know, every step you take towards going to the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein has thawab, and it removes your wipes off your sins, one or many. We have Imam al-Sadiq in one of the ahadith praying for the Shia in such a way that, oh Allah, bless the faces that have been discolored by the sun, you know, to that extent that people walking in the sun towards the ziyarah of Imam al-Hussein and towards the ziyarah of Ahlul Bayt are now subject to the dua of the Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. And the Imam says, oh Allah, I entrust these bodies and these souls to you till the day of judgment, that I'm placing them in your protection, and on the day of judgment, the shafa'ah will come to them, inshallah, and such is the emphasis on the ziyarat, not only Arbaeen, but walking for ziyarat and going for ziyarat of the Ahlul Bayt, especially Imam Hussein alayhi salam in general. One final point that I need to mention here is that when Saddam Hussein eventually was toppled, and I remember this, I was watching the news, and there was a lot of analysis going on at that time that they were saying that now is the time that the Shia power will emerge. Why? Because 60 to 65% of the Iraqi population is Shia, and they had been suppressed for 30 to 40 years or so. Their rights were taken away. Even though they were the majority, they were oppressed. And now that Saddam Hussein, being from the minority community, was ruling over the rest of the people, now those who were oppressed and they were the majority, they will now sort of take revenge. And that was the analysis in the Western media and the Western circles. And they were expecting that the Shia, now once that Saddam Hussein is toppled, they will overrun Iraq and they will basically take revenge for all the 30 years or so of oppression on them. And people were waiting to see now what the Shias would do. And now all eyes were on the Shia, and all eyes of the Shia was on the Marja'iyya, on the Maraji. And out of all of the Maraji, the leader of the Maraji in Iraq at that moment until now, may Allah protect him and give him a long life till the Buhur and reappearance of the Imam, inshallah, Ayatollah al-Uzma Sayyid al-Sistani, Hafizahullah. And I was personally following this, I remember, as a youth. And I still remember that the first thing people were waiting, they were waiting to hear what Sayyid al-Sistani would say. And he, in his first statement, and I remember very clearly that Saddam got toppled in the final days of Muharram or first days of Safar, around this time. And this is where Sayyid al-Sistani said, all of you head to Karbala for Arbaeen. And these were his words. That's it. And with that started the movement of Shias coming out of their doors, out of their homes, with flags of Abu Abdullah Hussein, Ya Hussein, and chanting and calling out to Abu Abdullah and doing matam and latmiya and beating their chests and walking towards Karbala. And this is where you now see that spiritual, political power come out. And this is where not only this was a spiritual activity, where the Shia were now heading towards Karbala to perform the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah Hussein, in one way also to thank Abu Abdullah for now relief from the oppressor, from the dictatorship of Saddam Hussein. But the message to the outside world was clear. We as Husseinis, we will neither oppress nor will get oppressed. But if you want to see our power, this is our power. And the message was clear. And from that day onwards, first year was around 1 million people or so or less who participated. And up until today, up until this year, I remember till last year, it was around in the 25 or 30 million. Some estimates more, some estimates less, but between 20 and 30 million people attended. And itself, it's phenomenal. In Hajj, they have difficulty to manage 2 to 3 million people, and we have unfortunate incidents of a stampede in Mina and people dying out of it, the Hujjaj, the guests of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But with 20, 30 million people in Karbala and throughout the walk, and not only the logistics, but the spirit behind it, alhamdulillah, no major incidents, nothing of that sort. And we find that an example of pure humanity with that love and selflessness comes out in the event of Arbaeen. So these thoughts about the event of Arbaeen, and if you have any thoughts, any questions, any comments, please feel free to share before we move on. I will, in the next few minutes, take a few minutes break to go pray Fajr. Inshallah, it's time for Fajr here, and it will also give you a break to stretch as well, Inshallah, so around your 9:30 or so, I will, inshallah, pause and we'll go away for a bit and then come back and continue. Any thoughts? Any? All right. So I see these thumbs up coming, and yeah, that seems like all right. Okay, I get your points. Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. Let's move forward then and look at the ziyarah, right? And this is very important for us to look at, because these are from the words of the Ma'sumin themselves. When they tell us something, when they teach us something, and remember, the ziyarah is not only a simple utterance. It's actually full of the ma'arif and the knowledge that the Ahlul Bayt are wanting to convey to us, and to give us a focus, give us attention to some of the greater realities that are out there for us to keep in mind. All right. So here in the ziyarah of Arbaeen, there is this part of the ziyarah. Unfortunately, you can't go through the whole ziyarah, but this is a highlight of the ziyarah where the Imam's mission and the purpose of his martyrdom is mentioned. And we find this in the ziyarah where we recite that Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is being addressed in the third person, and we're talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we're saying, oh Allah, Imam al-Hussein was such and such and such, that وَبَذَلَ مُهْجَتَهُ فِيكَ, he gave his blood. And here muhja comes from, it's specifically the blood of the heart. Right? He gave his last, to the last drop of his blood. He gave his whole self. He gave whatever he had in your path. So that what may happen, O Allah, لِيَسْتَنْقِذَ عِبَادَكَ مِنَ الْجَهَالَةِ وَحَيْرَةِ الضَّلَالَةِ, so that he may rescue and save your servants, O Allah, from two things: from jahala, from ignorance, and from hayratul dalala, from the perplexity and the confusion that goes with dalala and straying off and being misguided, becoming misguided. And just focusing on these four key concepts here. The Imam's purpose was to save. Now the word savior in Arabic is istinqaz, liyastanqiz, right? The word yastanqiz is used specifically when you're wanting to save a person from not only imminent danger, but to actually pull them out of danger. And specifically, it's used for pulling somebody out of drowning, right? Istinqaz is used when somebody is drowning and you're trying to save them. Had you not saved them, they would have gone, right? You would have lost them. And Imam al-Hussein saw this coming, and he waited till the right moment that he could not hold back. If he had not acted in Karbala on the day of Ashura, in the context that he was in, the Ummah would have All right, can you hear me now, inshallah? All right, I think I'm online again. I think my phone got disconnected. Yes, okay. Coming back to our discussion, we're talking about Imam Hussein taking the step at the right time. Had he not acted when he acted, the Ummah would have been drowned and they would have been lost, and Islam would have been destroyed. And that was a very key moment. And with Imam's action, with Imam's movement and his martyrdom, he saved us. He saved the ibad of Allah. Now, who are these ibad of Allah? We'll come to that in a minute. But even today, brothers and sisters, we need to be saved. We are drowning as a humanity, as a human society. We have not only personal issues in our lives, social issues, and political, global issues. So starting from mental health, you talk about issues that are going on in people's lives, personal lives, social crises as well because of some of these mental health issues. Family lives are broken because of some of these issues. And mental health has many issues, but a lot of that, we see it in the Western world more so and more prominently, primarily because of the lack of spirituality. And this is a fact. Going to social issues, political issues, environmental issues, we as a human race, as humanity as a whole, we need to be saved. We need to be. We're drowning. We're going down the path. And the only way to save ourselves is the message of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. There's no other way. There's no other path. It's just the path of the Imam of the time, which is the same path of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. That is the path of the Imamah. And that was the path that the Prophet laid out for the Muslims and for all of the humanity to follow. Where one of the tafasir of Ihdina as-Sirat al-Mustaqim is Aliyun as-Sirat al-Mustaqim. Imam Ali and the Imams, A'imma alayhi salam, the concept of Imamah is the Sirat al-Mustaqim that Allah has laid out for all of us to follow. So now it's for us to follow. It's open. We need to be saved. We need to go back to safety. And this is the path that we need to take. Who are these ibad that the Imam saved? Did Imam rise to just save the Shia? No. Only the mu'mineen were saved. So here the servants that the Imam is saving is not only the Shia or the mu'mineen. Is it only the Muslims? Was his message only for the followers of Islam, or those who say La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam? No, his message was a message that goes beyond. Obviously, it was centered on the concept of Tawheed and Wilaya, and that is the core message of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And this is where we need to be clear. When we present Imam al-Hussein to the world, we should not just pick on those messages that are common between Imam Hussein and others, but based on a different foundation. When Imam Hussein stands for freedom, it's different for when a godless person, a secular person, a humanistic person stands for freedom. When Imam Hussein calls out and he says, وَإِن لَمْ يَكُنْ لَكُمْ دِينٌ وَلَا تَخَافُونَ الْمَعَادِ فَكُونُوا أَحْرَارًا فِي دُنْيَاكُمْ. When he says, if you don't believe in a religion or in following a path that leads you towards Allah, and if you don't fear the hereafter, at least be free men, free people in this world of yours. Is it the same message of freedom that, for example, somebody else from the global so-called leaders gives? No. Imam's message of freedom is based on Tawheed, whereas that message of freedom is based on going away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's not the same. When we match and put Imam Hussein on the same pedestal or same level as other world leaders, we're not really doing a service. Rather, we're doing a disservice to the Imam on one hand and to the people as well. Because the message of Imam Hussein will only be a rescue and a savior for the people when they realize the crux and the core of Imam's message of being based on God consciousness, on Tawheed, on the Wilaya of Allah, the Prophet, the Ahl al-Bayt, and in the Ghaiba of the Ahl al-Bayt, the Marja'iyya, and the ones who are the Naib of the Imam. Coming back to who and what did the Imam save the humanity, or rather the monotheists or the Muslims or the mu'mineen from? He saved them from two things: from ignorance, from jahala, and hayrat al-dhalala, from perplexity of straying off. So now here, Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli, may Allah protect him and give him a long life, has a very interesting note here. What's the difference between jahala and dalala? He says jahala is at the intellectual level. It's at the level of knowing and ilm and knowledge and this level of awareness. When people in their awareness and their thought process and in their worldview are not on the correct awareness of what is actually out there and how it is actually out there, then they're on a path of jahala. Yeah? And this is where ignorance is. People don't have a correct perception and awareness of the truth and the reality. And this goes back to the ideological basis, and it is an intellectual issue, right? And even today, brothers and sisters, we're living in a society that's based on post-modernity now. Modernity was a time which was, according to the Western concept of modernity, a time that you cast aside, unfortunately, religion, but their definition of religion is obviously different from ours. In our definition of religion, intellectuality and aql is always there. But in the Christian and the Judeo-Christian, rather, definition, religion and dogma was at odds with the intellect, and therefore you find that in the Middle Ages you had people being persecuted simply for seeking knowledge or doing research or finding out about the secrets of the universe, right? And people were burnt at stake for doing some of that. And that therefore people went away from religion because they felt that their intellect was now at odds with the religion that they were being presented and they were following. And therefore there was this contradiction. And today even, a big part of the postmodern world is now not only taking out modernity, they're saying, okay, if you think that intellectually you can prove religion, well, we're going to question the very basis of intellectuality and basically question that whether there is indeed a truth out there or a reality out there. And obviously we know that there is a truth out there. There is a reality. It's something that is within us. We can sense it, and it's something that if it's taken away, there will be nothing that we can base ourselves off in society, in intellectuality. Then anything can be anything, and everything can be everything, right? And therefore, we know that there is something that is out there. We know there is a truth, there is a reality, and the greatest of all realities, and the greatest and the purest of all truth is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we need to get ourselves to Him. And Imam al-Hussein, not only in his words, for example, in Dua Arafah, where it's a resource of tawheedi material, tawheedi concepts throughout, getting us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This beautiful line of, for example, ماذا وجد من فقدك ومن الذي فقد من وجدك. Who has lost anything who found you, O Allah? Or what has somebody found who lost you, O Allah, for example, right? On one hand in his words and on the other hand in his actions, on the plains of Karbala, on the day of Ashura, when he has given everything he has in the path of Allah, when his baby is martyred in his own hands and the blood flows, and he says, هَوَّنَ عَلَيَّ مَا نَزَلَ بِي إِنَّهُ بِعَيْنِ اللَّهِ. It's easy for me to bear what has overcome me, what has transpired, because I know Allah is watching, right? This is the message of Imam al-Hussein, the Tawheedi message, and we need to get ourselves back to that basis ideologically and now in practice as well. When in practice we're not on the right path, we're not following the path of the Imam of the time, the Imamah itself. We're not following the Quran. As the Prophet has left behind the Quran and the Ahl al-Bayt, we're actually going off the path. And this is where not only in the awareness part we might have issues, now we have issues in the practice part, the practical. And we find that if Islam has all of the answers, then why are Muslims not free of all of these political, social, family, personal issues that we find across the board that human beings are suffering from, right? And that's the question, that unfortunately that Husseini spirit has not been accepted within our souls. And brothers and sisters, this is where when you go for Arbaeen, and when you see Arbaeen, when you study Arbaeen, you find in Arbaeen the answers to these issues. Because that Arbaeen is actually your connection and our connection as a whole, as a humanity, to Imam al-Hussein and his message. And this is where not only we read these words of the ziyarah, وَبَذَلَ مُهْجَتَهُ فِيكَ لِيَسْتَنْقِذَ عِبَادَكَ مِنَ الْجَهَالَةِ وَحَيْرَةِ الضَّلَالَةِ. It's not only a one point in time that Imam al-Hussein rescued and saved us. He is still continuing to rescue us even today. These majalis of Imam al-Hussein, these commemorations, this Arbaeen, the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, when we go and turn our attention towards Ibn Abdullah, why have we been told to remember Imam al-Hussein on every major occasion in the Islamic calendar year? Rajab comes, remember Imam al-Hussein, ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, 1st of Rajab, 15th of Rajab, ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, Sha'ban, 15th of Sha'ban, ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, the month of Ramadan, ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, not only in Ashura and Arbaeen, ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein on the days of Eid, on the days of, for example, especially every week, ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein every Thursday night. Why? Because when you connect yourself with Imam al-Hussein, he is saving you and me and all of humanity and whoever connects with him from jahala and hayrat al-walala as we speak. So the more we turn our face and attention and our hearts and souls towards Abu Abdullah, and this is another point in terms of the tarbiyah of our children as well. The more we connect our children with Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and his message, with love, with care, with affection, with compassion, with emotion, with intellectuality, as time goes, as they progress, we will find that we've placed a seed in their hearts that will keep them nourished and will keep them connected to religion. You can go study those who go away from religion later in life. You go study and you will find that one of the things that is missing is Imam al-Hussein in their lives, Abu Abdullah, and the commemoration of Abu Abdullah, the majlis of Abu Abdullah. If a person, the more attention they have in their lives towards Abu Abdullah, the more spiritual they are. This is a fact. Go try it. Inshallah, you'll find that this is indeed the fact. Those who have less attention, less emotional connection with Abu Abdullah Hussein, you'll find them, they're iffy about religion, they're iffy about practice. And this is where all the energy comes. This is the spring of life. This is the spring of energy that we are looking at. And this Arbaeen movement is actually deriving its energies from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and his mission and his blood, basically. So here, I'll pause here, inshallah. I'll go and pray, and inshallah we'll be back. If you have any thoughts, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, please feel free to share with each other as well in the meantime, and you can type it out on the message board, the chat, and if there's anything you would like to ask even as a question, please feel free. We'll come back and finish discussing some of the other points of ziyarah, and then we'll get into more of an interactive. I'm just hoping you all have your mics set up. If you would like, I would like if you can share audio-wise through your voice. If not, then through typing, inshallah, as well is fine. We'll pause here. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammadin.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام على ولي الله وحبيبه. السلام على خليل الله ونجيبه. السلام على صفي الله وابن صفيه. السلام على الحسين المظلوم الشهيد. السلام على أسير الكربات وقتيل العبرات. اللهم إني أشهد أنه وليك وابن وليك وصفيك وابن صفيك الفائز بكرامته أكرمته بالشهادة وحفظته بالسعادة واجتبيته بطيب الولادة وجعلته سيدا من السادة وقائدا من القادة وزائدا من الزادة وأعطيته مواريث الأنبياء وجعلته حجة على خلقك من الأوصياء فأعذر في الدعاء ومنح النصح وبذل مهجته فيك ليستنقذ عبادك من الجهالة وحيرة الضلالة وقد توازر عليه من غرته الدنيا وباع حظه بالأرذل الأدنى وشرى آخرته بالثمن الأوسد وتغطرس وتردى في هواه وأسخطك وأسخط نبيك وأطاع من عبادك أهل الشقاق والنفاق وحملة الأوزار المستوجبين النار فجاهدهم فيك صابرا محتسبا حتى سفك في طاعتك دمك واستبيح حريمك اللهم فالعنهم لعنا وبيلا وعذبهم عذابا أليما السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الأوصياء أشهد أنك أمين الله وابن أمينه عشت سعيدا ومضيت حميدا ومت فقيدا مظلوما شهيدا وأشهد أن الله منجز ما وعدك ومهلك من خذلك ومعذب من قتلك وأشهد أنك وفيت بعهد الله وجاهدت في سبيله حتى أتاك اليقين فلعن الله من قتلك ولعن الله من ظلمك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به اللهم إني أشهدك أني ولي لمن والاه وعدو لمن عاداه بأبي أنت وأمي يا ابن رسول الله أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرقام المطهرة لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك المتلهمات من ثيابها وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المسلمين ومعقل المؤمنين وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا وأشهد أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع ونصرتي لكم معدة حتى يأذن الله لكم فمعكم معكم لا مع عدوكم صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وأجسامكم وأجسادكم وشاهدكم وغائبكم وظاهركم وباطنكم آمين رب العالمين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We can continue if everybody is back, inshallah. Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tahirin. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah wa ala wahil lati hallat bifinaik. All right. So we were so far talking about the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein, rather the mission of Imam al-Hussein and his purpose, and connecting Arbaeen to now the main purpose behind Imam al-Hussein and his message and his movement. How do we now play a part? What is our motivation for ziyarah? And sometimes people ask me, they say, when is a good time for me to go for ziyarah? Some people are very upfront and they'll say, I can't stand ziyarah to Arbaeen because I can't stand the idea that I won't get a chance to, go all the way to the Zari, for example, or I won't get time to pray in the Haram, and there's hardly any space, and there's such a big crowd, and I would rather go at the time when I can be in the Haram and I can participate in the ziyarah at my pace. Obviously, for people who have difficulties, yes, obviously it's understandable for them to prefer off-peak times, right? But also to keep in mind now that the A'imma alayhim as-salam themselves have recommended these times to us, right? So you can hear me still? Right, I'll continue because I feel the internet may not be working. Right. But I will continue. Right. Okay, so I think you can hear me, and I'll continue on, inshallah. So the question that keeps coming back is, when is a good time to go for ziyarah? And I personally advise people that if you would like to benefit from the peak of the spiritual moments that are available, go for ziyarah when the A'imma themselves have asked us to or recommended us to go for ziyarah. So we have makhsusi, we have these specific makhsus days that we've been told that are good and special to go for ziyarah. 15th of Sha'ban, Arafah, obviously Ashura, the day of Arbaeen being one of the most important. And now that it's considered a sign of a believer, and on top of that, now that it's now a statement and it's become a way to show that there is a latent power within the world that's based on God consciousness, on taqwa, that's based on the concept of pure imamah, that's based on true and pure service to humanity. And this is where it is. Come and see it. And it's an open invitation to everybody, Muslim or non-Muslim, Shia or non-Shia, even anybody who does not believe in religion can come and see the level of generosity and pure human values that are being practiced, not only in word, but in action, right, in Arbaeen. And this is where, even though you may not possibly get a chance to touch the Zari which is not wajib to begin with. But Imam sees you where you are. Imam responds to your salam where you are. Imam appreciates you coming all the way as close as possible, even if you make it to Bain al-Haramain, or even if you don't, as long as you come as safely possible for you close to the Haram of Abu Abdullah and just say, Assalamu alaikum ya Abu Abdullah, and go back. Imam has his presence everywhere. He can see where you are. يَرَوْنَ مَقَامِي وَيَسْمَعُونَ كَلَامِي وَيَرُدُّونَ سَلَامِي. We say this in Ibn Dukhul, right? That piece of permission to enter that we recite, we say, oh Imam, I bear witness. I know that you can see my spot where I'm standing. You can see where I am. And you can hear my voice, and you are responding, and you respond to my salam, right? So the whole idea of going for ziyarah, even if I can't make it to the Haram or to the Zarih, I can make it to Karbala or Arbaeen, and that itself counts, right? Now, keeping another point in mind, I think somebody had a point to share, I believe. Yes, thank you for sharing that, sister. That whole lesson of Tawheed and Taqwa, yes, it's special because Imam is Imam of the Muttaqeen, right? He is the leader of the ones who possess Taqwa, and Imam himself, as in example, demonstrated to us the true meaning of Taqwa. I'm just hoping we can get our slides back and see the slide here. I don't know if I can share the screen. But yes, usually we base our ziyarat experiences on our ideological commitment, our belief in Tawheed and the concept of Wilaya. And these two are part of the same, basically. If you look at the whole world and the whole system of creation and existence in general, it's based on the concept of Tawheed. Everything is in a sense of unity. There's a unity behind everything. And wherever you see unity, it's inspiration from Allah. And wherever you see division and discord, it's moving away from Allah, and rather it is through shaitan that you have unnecessary discord and disunity and infighting. And wilaya is that tool and that path and that basically system and institution through which this tawheed is maintained at every level of creation. And wilaya starts with the wilaya of Allah, and then coming down to the wilaya of the Prophet, and down to the wilaya of Amirul Mu'mineen and all of the Imams. إِنَّمَا وَلِيُّكُمُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالَّذِينَ يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَهُمْ رَاكِعُونَ. And the wilaya in the ghaiba of the Imam goes to the naib of the Imam, the one who is most similar to the Imam in practice, even though they may not be a ma'asum, but it is now this person who has the ilm, the taqwa, and the authority given to them by the Imam himself as he was going into ghaiba, that as I head towards a period that I will not be accessible, فَأَمَّا الْحَوَادِثُ الْوَاقِعَةُ فَارْجِعُوا فِيهَا إِلَى رُوَاةِ حَدِيثِنَا. So whenever events and needs transpire that you need my attention, turn towards those who narrate our ahadith. And who are these who know the ahadith inside out? None other than the top scholars in the Hawzat al-Ilmiya. And these people within themselves are now responsible to maintain that mission of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and move the Shia, not only the Shia, but all of humanity forward, inshallah. When we go for ziyarah now, let's move beyond a selfish ziyarah. Let's move towards a selfless ziyarah. And the more we can do khidmah of Imam and his followers and that includes not only the Shia. The Imam's followers are beyond. Even with Imam al-Mahdi, for example, and Imam al-Hussein, there is consensus amongst the Shia and the Sunni that they come all the way to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Those who believe, who accept, who love Imam al-Hussein, because of the hadith of the Prophet Hussein al-Minni wa Imam al-Hussein, they show their utmost love for Imam al-Hussein. But coming to the Imamah, obviously they might have a difference of opinion versus the Khilafah. But when we look at Imam al-Mahdi, for example, we find that all Shias and Sunnis are united on the fact that there will be a Mahdi who will come at the end of times, who will be from the progeny of Rasulullah, and some accept it to be from Imam al-Hussein as well, from the Sunnis. The only major difference being that they don't believe that he has been born yet. And the Shias will believe who he is and whose son he is and reborn. We now are at a point that the Sunnis and Shias are unified on the concept of the Mahdi, so much such that don't be surprised to see the brothers and sisters of the Ahl Sunnah coming and standing together shoulder to shoulder with the Shia when the Imam comes. Imam al-Mahdi will come and he will unite the Muslim Ummah, and he will bring the Shias and the Sunnis together, and he will make us realize where we've gone wrong, and intellectually or in practice. The main point to keep in mind here is humility. Are we humble enough to accept somebody alongside ourselves, or we are so adamant about our identity that we don't have that humility to accept others within our fold? Yes, there might be issues on the other side where people have gone away, and this is where the jahala is, the jahala, that the unawareness of the reality. Yes, many of the Sunnis are unaware of the reality of the wilayah of the Ahlul Bayt, and that's the truth, that's the fact. Once they realize it, they will come, inshallah. Many of us as Shias as well, in our practice, we've gone away from the Ahlul Bayt. Even though we may know the truth, we may believe in it, but in our practice, are we really in our lives practicing what the Ahlul Bayt have asked us to practice? Will the Imam not be upset with us as well? And this is where we need to fix ourselves, inshallah. Just hoping for the slides to come back on. Inshallah, I hope we can get some help here. I wanted to spend some time on discussing part of Right. So in terms of spiritual upliftment as part of our motivation for ziyarah and our emotional connection with the Imam, based on the ideological commitment that we have, we need to have it at the personal level and at the social level. And the spirituality, as we know, the more we make our spiritual activities social, the more benefit we gain from it, as we see in Salat as well. When we pray a Furada Salat, we get X amount of Sawab, and that's limited. But when we pray in Jama'ah, the same Salat, we get more Sawab, and our Sawab is multiplied. Likewise, ziyarah, if we are performing a personal ziyarah just for my own self, yes, there will be benefit, there will be thawab, there will be spiritual upliftment there as well. But if we perform a group or social ziyarah, where I'm not only concerned about my own ziyarah, but I'm there to help others perform their ziyarah as well, and I'm there to serve them, my benefit from the ziyarah experience will be more. So whenever you are in a group, wherever you are, wherever you go, one of the primary things you should keep in mind is you're not there for yourself only, but you're there to serve Imam. And whoever is there for the Imam, you're there for them. And once we realize that part of the spiritual
experience of ziyarah is serving those who have come for ziyarah, those zuwar. Your spiritual feel and your spiritual experience will be manifold, inshallah. Besides that, the emotional connection, we usually have a personal emotional connection with the imam, and we base it on our love for the imam. But keep in mind that everybody sort of has a love and a connection with the imam. They see in the imam a manifestation of divine love, right? Now, what would help and how deep this love would be if we all were to love each other, our fellow mu'mineen, based on this love, because all of us at some point, at some level, are carrying this love for the imam in our hearts. When we do this ziyarah, and especially ziyarah of Arbaeen, is that place where you actually see that love come out. For example, I'll share this experience, personal experience. In my first walk, I was walking and we were halfway through. It was almost Dhuhr time, and we had prayed and we were continuing to walk, and people were now hungry. So it was time for lunch. People were serving, the mokibs were serving lunch at that time. So you probably have seen these brothers who come out with big, huge trays with food, trays on it, these packets of food. And I was walking towards one of them where they had this small container of rice and some beans curry. And I saw that this person who was holding this tray was standing in the middle of the path, and two people at the same time were walking towards and wanting to grab that last piece. Now, all other containers had been taken, and this one person from the left, one person from the right. They were trying to move forward to grab, and as they were moving, other people had already taken their own shares. Now, when they both realized, as they were going to pick it up, that the other person is also wanting to grab it, both left simultaneously. And they said, no, you take it. And the other one would say, no, you take it. And they both moved away. None of them picked it up. And subhanAllah, there was such a beautiful moment of selflessness that I give up my personal need. I'm hungry. That person is hungry too. But we both see that love of Imam al-Hussein manifesting itself in the hearts of people, in showing love to the Za'ir and the Zuwar of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. I would give preference to somebody else over my own self in this love of Imam al-Hussein. And both of them walked away. None of them picked it up. A third person came and took it. And it was so interesting, so touching and inspiring for me to see that selflessness and beauty, that it's unimaginable, it's inexplainable, basically. And that's the love that you see. That love is now not only connected to the Imam, but it's now overflowing into those who love the Imam. And that's something we need to take back. Not only the spirit of service, but the spirit of love, the feeling of love for anybody who has love of Imam al-Hussein, rather than looking down upon other mu'mineen for some quality or the other. The greatest quality that people have there, look at them through the lens of being in love with Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. It'll change the way you look at ziyarah. It'll change the way you experience ziyarah. It'll change the way you look at life completely. When you look at it from the perspective of love of Allah, love of the Prophet, and love of the Ahlul Bayt, and especially in this case, love of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And inshallah, we move forward in our path towards Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, step by step. Brothers and sisters, do you have access to the slides? Can you see them?
Which slide number you need?
We would like to be on slide number 4, I believe, yeah. I'm having
Yeah, slide number 4.
Yeah.
Slide number 4. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Okay. I cannot see it, but can everybody else see it? So I'll just continue then. Yeah? Okay. If you all can see it, then I'll just continue on. Brothers and sisters, time is running short, but I will quickly move forward now. The journey of Imam al-Hussein, rather I would say the journey of the Imam, and we're looking at all of the 14 Ma'sumin, the 12 Imams, as one reality. Kulluhum nurun wahid. They're one reality, they're one nur. Alright? And the actions that each of the Imams did was different because of the circumstances they were in. Had any Imam been in the position of the other, they would have done the same. And the reality is that the Imam al-Hussein, had to journey from Mecca, and he had to leave Mecca. Imam al-Hussein will return back to Mecca, but in the form of his son, Imam al-Mahdi. But this journey from Mecca to Karbala has taken place, where Imam al-Hussein has been martyred. We keep journeying towards Karbala to remind ourselves that yes, the Imam of the time needs to go back to Mecca, where he will finally reappear. And this is where the connection between Imam Hussein and Imam Mahdi is very important for us to realize. That if we want to be part of the journey of Imam al-Hussein and be part of the caravan of Imam al-Hussein, we need to go and join the camp and the caravan of Imam al-Mahdi. And to be able to do that, we need to go to Karbala. Right? Because the Imam has raised the flag of La ilaha illallah, of Tawheed, of pure Islam in Karbala. And that's where he was martyred. The Imam of the time will return through Karbala, through this Arbaeen, through this progress and this movement that is moving forward, inshallah. This Arbaeen is a stepping stone towards preparing the world for the return of the Imam of our time. And inshallah, the Imam will reappear. We pray that it is sooner and within our lives and within our times, and we see the Imam reappear. But brothers and sisters, there is no difference between the movement of Imam al-Hussein and Imam al-Mahdi. It's one movement and one purpose. The movement is to return to justice, as Imam al-Hussein and Imam al-Mahdi both. Imam al-Mahdi يَمْلَأُ الْأَرْضَ عَدْلًا وَقِسْطًا كَمَا مُلِئَ ظُلْمًا وَجَوْرًا. He will fill the earth with justice and equity, the way it was filled with injustice and oppression. Imam al-Hussein, likewise, he could not stand the injustice and oppression of Yazid, not only in terms of killing people and oppressing other individuals. Now, the biggest thing that he was oppressing was Islam itself. And Imam al-Hussein had to rise. And what did he say? I have risen. لِطَلَبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ فِي أُمَّةِ جَدِّي. I have risen to seek reform in the ummah of my grandfather. So the need for reform will lead us to justice. The reform needs to happen not to take us away from Islam, not to take us away from justice, no, rather to take us back. How? By walking on the footsteps and the seerah of the Prophet. That's what Imam al-Hussein tells us. وَأَسِيرُ بِسِيرَةِ جَدِّي وَأَبِي. Walk on the seerah of Rasulullah and Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. And brothers and sisters, this movement has one purpose. Obviously, justice is one, but how do you attain that justice? Till the time the purpose is not based on the imama of the Ahlul Bayt and the concept of wilayah, the concept that Allah has all authority, and His authority and His guardianship is exemplified and it's practiced and executed on earth by His representatives on earth, the Prophet, and in the absence of the Prophet, after the Prophet, the Ahlul Bayt, the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt. And in each time there's an Imam, there's a Hujjah on earth who will execute that. That is the basis of the God-centered civilization that we intend to see and intend to If you look at Surah Al-Fajr, it talks about all these different civilizations that are ancient civilizations. And Allah says, each of these civilizations, they may have been materialistically and materially very advanced, but there was one thing that was missing. They were not spiritually advanced. And why? Allah talks about that. Inshallah, look up Surah Al-Fajr and the translation and tafsir if you can. But Surah Al-Fajr is called the Surah of Imam al-Hussein. It's telling us that if you want to move towards a God-centered civilization, that's the end of the surah is Ya ayyatuha an-nafsul mutma'inna irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyya. Return to your Lord. You must say that you are pleased and well-pleasing. Right? And Imam al-Hussein was that type. He laid the groundwork for the God-centered civilization that humanity will eventually attain when Imam al-Mahdi reappears. Right? And Imam al-Hussein has been inheriting this purpose from all of the prophets. Assalamu alayka ya waritha Adam safwatillah Nuhin nabiyillah Ibrahim khalilullah. Till the last prophet, Imam Hussein inherited this purpose from all of the prophets, and Imam al-Mahdi, his son, his grandson, will eventually execute it on his behalf. And when Imam al-Mahdi reappears, he will not introduce himself through the prophet. He will not introduce himself through Imam Ali. He will not introduce himself through Lady Fatima. He will not introduce himself through his own father, Imam al-Hasan al-Askari. He will say, Ya ayyuha al-alam, inna jaddi al-Husayn qataluhu atshama. O the people of the world, I am the Mahdi that you have been waiting for. And O people of the world, it is my grandfather who was killed thirsty. It's interesting. Ayatollah Bahjat says, based on these words of Imam al-Mahdi that he will, inshallah, utter from his blessed lips and tongue, when he reappears, he will introduce himself to the world through Imam al-Hussein. Well, that tells us something, that when the Imam reappears, the people of the world would have already known Imam Hussein so well that when Imam Mahdi introduces himself, he will not introduce himself to any other person except for Imam al-Hussein. That's when the people will make the connection and say that, oh, that Hussein who stood for values that were true and pure, it is this Hussein of the time that is here now to lead us to the purpose that Hussein had stood for. And that is when the people would walk and come towards Imam al-Hussein of the time, that is Imam al-Mahdi. So brothers and sisters, the Azan of Imam al-Hussein is in reality the preparation for the zuhur of Imam al-Mahdi. And Arbaeen is that culmination of that period of mourning and Azan. For 40 days or 50 days now, starting from the beginning of Muharram, we remember Imam al-Hussein. And we have this collective mourning, and we commit to that with the intention of preparing the world to welcome the divine rule at the hands of Imam al-Mahdi ajallahu ta'ala. And at the same time, this strategy is at different levels. On one hand, it is a spiritual movement. On the other hand, it's an emotional movement. Our feelings, our heart is tied to this. On the other hand, it is an intellectual movement. There is a purpose. It has to be intellectual. It has to be based on aql. It has to be based on reasoning. It's a physical movement as well. We're not talking about ideas and concepts in the air. You need to make a move and take a stance and move and come out in the open and do something physically to show that you're part of the movement. It's a social-political strategy. You need to work with this whole idea of the wilaya of the Ahlul Bayt. Following the Imam of the time today is impossible unless we follow the Naib of the Imam today. And till the time we don't follow the Naib of the Imam, the representative of the Imam today, going back to the marja'iyya and the concept of obeying the maraja' today is going to help us return to obeying the Imam when he comes. This is the way to move humanity towards returning towards the truth and towards justice, inshallah. Brothers and sisters, in the time that remains, we have entered the Mubahatha Mawkid. Inshallah, we all have the tawfiq of going for Ziyarat al-Arbaeen this year, and inshallah, participating in the walk, especially along the walk, especially for those who may go for the walk between Najaf and Karbala. Every single kilometer is laced with mawkibs. Mawkib is basically a place where people stop to take rest, and mawkib in its original meaning is not a place for rest. Rather, mawkib is used by Arabs to indicate that it's a group of people coming together to do aza, to do a mourning. And usually these different groups based on their tribal affiliation or linguistic affiliation or cultural affiliation or locality-wise neighborhood affiliation, they would come together and form a mawkib to serve and to have majlis and aza and latmiya, as well as feed people food and drinks and allow people to come and rest in their spaces. So that's the original idea of the mawkib. Now, we have entered this mawkib now, and we would like to do some mubahatha, which is discussion. Mubahatha is a practice, common practice in the hawza ilmiya, where people, after their dars and their lesson that the teacher teaches, the professor goes through, students get together and go over the lesson, and that's called a mubahatha. Now, we would like to look at this in terms of the beautiful words of Lady Zainab, where when she was asked, how did you see the work of Allah in all of this behind Karbala and whatever you saw on the day of Ashura, she had nothing to say but وَمَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا, I saw nothing but beauty. And this is Arbaeen. This is the Arbaeen energy that we see. It's nothing but beauty. Now we would like to bring this beauty and this energy into our lives. And the question is, inshallah, please feel free to share your thoughts. How can we participate and partake? Not only participate physically, but partake and take away from the spiritual, moral, and intellectual energy of Arbaeen. And I'm sure there's a lot to think about, a lot to share as well. Please feel free to share that on the screen or through the text or to your voices, inshallah. How can we benefit holistically, completely from the spirituality of Arbaeen, the moral lessons we take from Arbaeen, and the intellectual energy of Arbaeen? Ya Allah, can you hear me? I hope you're able to follow along, inshallah. Right. Thank you for sharing. Any other thoughts? Inshallah, I'll try and sum up your thoughts once you've placed them online. I like the words present and aware, and it summarizes the part where not only at the intellectual or the ideological level we're aware of where we are. We're not at any simple historical or archaeological site or a place where a simple historical event in the past took place. No, we're actually in a place where the blood of the martyrs has been spilt. And this is the blood that we say طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم in Ziyarah al-Warith and the Ziyarah al-Shuhada. We say that not only you were pure, O the Ashab of Imam, the earth in which you were buried became purified because of you. طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم. So here, what is this purity? What is this spiritual status of this place that we're in? It's no ordinary place. There's something connecting us beyond the physical realm of the existence into the metaphysical realm. And Karbala is that place where you can feel the metaphysical. You can actually feel it. You can feel that spirituality that you cannot feel anywhere else. And it's not an understatement. Yes, all of the earth is Allah's, and spirituality-wise, yes, Allah is everywhere. Allah accessing Allah, connecting with Allah is everywhere. But Allah Himself has asked us to pay attention and focus on certain special places that Allah Himself has chosen for spirituality. And that's very important. Thank you for sharing that. By being present and aware, on one hand spiritually, but being aware of the social aspect as well, and how that social connection can boost our spirituality. The brother also shares, thank you very much, applying it into our lives. And that is something that we need to talk about as well. Obviously, focusing on not only the emotional part of the journey, that is surely there, that's a necessary part of the journey, but also the spiritual, moral, and intellectual energies on one hand. But that's the next part. Now, the next question is, how can we contribute to increasing the social impact of Arbaeen within our communities and societies? And a big part of the application of the first question comes to the second question. When we do it as a collective, when we do it as a group, when we go for ziyarat even, by the time you meet people on the plane and at the airport, it's a very cold encounter. You don't know people, you don't have that relationship. But by the time you leave ziyarah and head back home, you feel you've known these people forever. Like sometimes you have that bond. In Hajj you feel this, in ziyarah you feel this. And this is how you start building a community. When you do things collectively, on a spiritual basis, on a spiritual foundation, and you serve for the sake of Allah, and you love for the sake of Allah each other, that is when slowly and gradually that society and the community is built. Right? There is no way to engineer it ourselves. We need to allow the spiritual engineering to happen. We just have to place ourselves, just like how you place pieces of iron in the magnetic field and the iron becomes magnetized. We need to place ourselves in the spiritual field and become spiritually magnetized or spiritualized. And that is how we move towards building that spiritual connection within ourselves, within each other. And through that now, we build our societies, inshallah, our communities. And yes, as the sister also mentioned, creating an enduring collaboration with others for collective upliftment of the Ummah. It's a natural avenue for networking within the Shia, within the Muslim Ummah, within people that you know are here for Imam Hussein. So when you work together, even in business, you're benefiting the Zuwar and the lovers of Imam Hussein, and in turn, you're benefiting the mission of Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein, we would love to see his followers and his lovers work together to benefit, and to not only benefit materially, benefit spiritually through this business contact and connection and collaboration. Not only are you benefiting materially, you're actually benefiting spiritually. Why? Because you did it on the basis of the love of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And it's going to affect your spirituality, no doubt about it. And finally, the question, and I'm sure time is running out, how can the event of Arbaeen be used to move the world closer to the reappearance of the Imam? Obviously, we had some thoughts, but we're looking for some practical details. How do you think Arbaeen as an event now can be used to move us closer? And I'm sure we might take baby steps, but it would have a snowball effect because it's in the way of Allah. It will eventually have a snowball effect. We just need to start and get the ball rolling. What are your thoughts? Obviously, these points might need quite a bit of time to think over and reflect deeply, and obviously time is also short, unfortunately. So maybe I'll just leave it here and leave you with these questions to think over and maybe discuss them, study them, and maybe explore them a bit more, not only at your own level, but at the family level. Maybe you can bring it up at the dinner table conversations. And as a community, what can we do to bring the spirit of Arbaeen back home? Not only leave it behind, but rather bring that energy over in our part. And one thing that I need to surely mention before we end is if we don't, nobody else will. I've been studying the Western media for the past 4 to 5 years, and the major outlets will amplify anything and everything that may be very small, but such a large gathering as Arbaeen, where humanity in millions is coming together, does not get not a headline, but not even a single mention in the major outlets, whether it's CBC News or CNN or BBC. This message clearly shows this act of the media, and obviously many of these media sources are supported by Western governments as well, like BBC, for example. It's a governmental institute and organization. Other media outlets likewise. Why is Arbaeen being put under a blackout, where it's the biggest, or maybe one of the biggest gatherings of humanity? And it's not something that's only specific to Shia. You have non-Muslims participate in Arbaeen as well. You have Sunnis, you have other sects of Islam coming together. And this shows that if Arbaeen has this potential of uniting humanity based on God, based on purity, based on spirituality, based on Imam al-Hussein, you will see this same humanity will be there when Imam al-Mahdi rises, inshallah. They will be there to support him. And you will see who will oppose the Imam when he comes. And it clearly is paving the way on one hand. It's also giving us glimpses of how the world will look like when the Imam reappears. that Allah says in the Holy Quran, يُرِيدُونَ لِيُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ. These people, they wish to blow out the nur of Allah as if it were a candle, right? They can blow out the candle. They would like to blow out the nur of Allah through their mouths. But instead, Allah has a larger plan, in a greater plan, in the big, higher dimension. Allah has this plan, وَاللَّهُ مُتِمُّ نُورِهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ. And Allah will surely perfect His nur and His illumination, even if the disbelievers and those who oppose Allah, the kafirin, they may be averse. And Arbaeen is that nur of Allah that has been shining through the blessings and through the nur of the Imam of the time, that it is illuminating humanity towards the truth, towards the path of justice. And what the media and other sources and other governments and other mustakbirin, what they're trying to do is they're trying to black out Arbaeen so that this energy, this nur does not shine. But Allah has His way. Allah has His plan. This will surely get out. This will surely get to the hearts of people. It will move people. It will spiritually magnetize people. It will prepare the people for the coming of the Imam. But the question is, do we want to be part of this or not? Do we want to be part of sharing and getting the message out or not? The choice is ours. Inshallah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give us a tawfiq to become more aware of Arbaeen, of the message of Abu Abdullah, and connect with Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam and the Imam of our time, and spiritually grow in this event of Arbaeen, and inshallah have the tawfiq to share the message of Arbaeen and the event of Arbaeen with everybody around us as much as possible, and inshallah bring the spirit of Arbaeen back home as well into our communities, into our lives, beginning with our own personal lives and our family lives, and then to our communities, and inshallah at the global level as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept this from us, and may He hasten the reappearance of our Imam, Ajallahu ta'ala farajah, and may He make us from those who will be prepared for the coming of the Imam and be from His closest companions and helpers, inshallah ta'ala. Thank you for your attention, and my apologies for any shortcomings, and may Allah accept this from us as well. Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. And I will leave with this short dua from Ziyarat Ashura. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود وثبت بي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد.
Thank you for listening to the